Most people are not afraid of being wrong. They are afraid of being wrong confidently, which is honestly kind of awkward, because confidence often arrives before understanding does. That is the Dunning-Kruger effect, or, in plain English, the less you know, the easier it is to think you know enough. Not because people are stupid. That would actually be kind of comforting. No, the real problem is simpler. When you know very little, you usually do not yet know what you are missing. So the subject looks clear, manageable, almost embarrassingly easy, and that feeling is, well, dangerous. You learn a few concepts, pick up the language, recognize a few patterns, and suddenly it all seems to click. You do not feel like a beginner. You feel like someone who has finally seen through the nonsense. Then if you keep going, something unfortunate happens, you learn more, and now the tidy little picture starts to fall apart. There are exceptions, trade-offs, context, things that only work sometimes, things that collapse the moment real people get involved. So your confidence drops, which is irritating because this is usually the point where your understanding finally starts becoming real. Earlier you had certainty, now you have proportion. Earlier you had opinions, now you have sentences like, well, it depends. A painful downgrade for social media, a healthy one for reality. And today, the internet makes this worse because, it gives people something previous generations had less of fast information without the slow humiliation of real study. You can search a topic, skim a few articles, watch 2 videos, scroll a thread, and honestly walk away with a powerful feeling. I understand this now, not deeply, not in context, but enough to feel informed, and often enough to sound informed. That is the modern version of Dunning-Kruger. The internet does not just give people information, it gives them premature certainty, especially with health. Someone Googles a symptom, reads 3 explanations, finds 2 stories that feel familiar, and within half an hour is either dismissing something serious or quietly preparing for the collapse of the body. Because information is not judgment, and access is not understanding. A few search results do not tell you what matters most, what is rare, what is likely, what changes the picture, or what only makes sense next to 10 other facts. But they can still make you feel clear, and, clarity is seductive. That is the deeper law here. A little knowledge often feels complete long before it actually is. Once you can name something, explain something, talk about something, you start mistaking fluency for understanding. But naming is not mastery, and sounding certain is not the same as being right. That is why people who really know what they are doing often sound less impressive. Not because they are weaker, because they have seen the edges. They know where ideas break, where simple answers stop working, where reality, refuses to cooperate with the explanation. So real competence often sounds less like, this is obvious, and more like, this matters, but so do several other things. It's less exciting, perhaps. Also, less stupid. So the lesson here isn't to distrust everything you learn online. The lesson is actually a bit simpler. But be suspicious of understanding that arrives too quickly, especially, when it feels really satisfying, especially when just a few search results make you feel, a little taller than you were just 10 minutes ago. Because honestly, that first moment when something makes sense is often not the end of thinking. It's actually the beginning. And maybe that's the Captain Help version. When understanding first arrives, it often shows up overdressed. It looks like mastery. It sounds like certainty. It has opinions right away. Then reality walks in, asks better questions, and starts removing the costume piece by piece. What remains is less glamorous, but, way more useful, less swagger, better judgment, and a more honest sense of just how much you still don't know.